Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you practically live from Amesbury, Massachusetts. Oftentimes I say I'm from Boston, but the truth is I've never lived actually inside Boston. I live in Amesbury. I've been in other parts of Massachusetts as well, but why don't we just say live from Massachusetts, and that will cover. Well, I did live in New Hampshire for a while, but that wasn't really that long. Let's just stay with live from Massachusetts. It's Tuesday night, live stream, studentloanjustice.org, with your host, Ed McKinley from Massachusetts. And tonight, Ed's live studio guests will be nobody. I don't have any studio guests. This is just me at home making up a show. What do you expect? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. So, yeah. This is a professional outfit here. This is clearly all professional broadcasting equipment, and I am, in fact, not really a professional announcer. This is the absolute tip of the root of the grass in grassroots right here. If you were looking for the very end, from the tip of the blade all the way down through the dirt to the end of this is it. You hit it. Yes, I guess you could argue you've hit bottom, but I would like to look at it from a very different perspective. I have said it many times. I think Alan Collins, who usually does these live streams, I just come out and try to give him a night off and a break now and then. Enough of that. But this is a real grassroots organization, and I really want to impress upon that to anybody, particularly those who are watching these live streams that are new to the group. If you came here under the hope or with the impression that you were going to find a large, highly structured, corporately sponsored and funded brick and mortar organization, we're very sorry. They don't live here. This is us, and this is what grassroots look like. Student Loan Justice, to my knowledge, is the only group of any size and face it, notoriety. Actually doing, at least working our tails off to confront a spectacularly predatory and corrupt student loan lending system. Now, I always say I'm going to be brief, and I'm going to try it again. I'll give it a shot, but I got to be honest with you. When I get going on this stuff, it pisses me off, and I got to make really clear to anybody watching this. I don't know that I have particular anger issues, but when it comes to this, I do, and it takes a pretty good amount of effort for me to, just to contain myself when I think about what it has cost me in so many areas of my life to have gone into this when I went to school in the mid-90s. And I wasn't a traditional student. I was in my 30s. I wasn't a kid. I thought I had a little bit of working knowledge of consumer debt. I had absolutely no idea that the consumer debt instrument that I was signing to assist with my social work studies wasn't like any other kind of debt in this country. I had absolutely no forewarning whatsoever of how high and how serious of a risk that I was taking. And you know what? Even if you go to schools today and you go on campus, although unfortunately many aren't on campus, but ordinarily approached a lot of new students today, or students who are currently in college, and you brought them your story. I think with a lot, you could bring in all the evidence, the paperwork, the whole 9 yards, and it's incredibly frustrating because one of the first things that I thought when I first started to understand this problem and want to fight and be a part of the solution was, geez, oh, let's go to all the colleges and talk to those kids and let them know what's going on and let them know what's going to happen. Maybe we can nip this in the bud. And we did do some of that. What we've learned is those guys are us. They're exactly who we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when we were going to school. Had somebody come to me back in the say mid '90s, even though this problem was just really beginning to swell up into a significant issue, if you'd come to me, even if you had convinced me that yes, this was going on, there was some risks, I still probably would have thought maybe you were exaggerating them at least a little bit. But more importantly, it would have been my own inability to say, well, I'm going to fail. I know that when I finish school, I'm certainly going to fail. Or at least I may not, I shouldn't say fail, because the truth of the matter is I don't think I have failed, actually, and there's evidence to support that. But I struggled out of the gate. I didn't come out of the gate fast enough to be able to uh, tackle these loans the way that I had imagined and had been kind of led to believe that they would play out, with absolutely no awareness of how little tolerance there was and how the system was well designed to begin the process of switching me over from a guy who borrowed some money to go to school in good faith into essentially a doormat, a financial doormat. And the cost. I'm not going to preach to the choir tonight. If you're here tonight, this has cost you in some way, shape, or form, and it is absolutely devastating. So, what I want to say tonight, and to try to keep it, reasonably short and to the point, is it's an understatement for me to sit here and tell you that there's a lot of important issues going on nationally and maybe globally, depending on how big a picture you like to look at. I could sit here and name, three, four, five right off the top that are hot button items that are sucking a lot of the air out of the news cycle. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm not saying they're not important. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But I will say this, with a couple of exceptions. Many of them are problems that we could be wrestling with to varying degrees for a very, very long time. There are. I'm not going to get into what I view as the complexities of what it's going to take to actually find a meaningful, fair, and equitable resolution to racial equality. I certainly have some thoughts about that, but the reality of true racial harmony throughout this country and out the world, I think is a target that I happen to agree with, but I am realistic enough to know that it's got a long ways to go. That's gonna be a long fight for people who care about that. So I'm not asking you to care or not care about that issue. I'm simply using that as a reference point to the one of the biggest socioeconomic problems, specific problems going on in this country today that almost no one ever talks about. And up until the last couple of years, literally no legitimate politician, by legitimate I simply mean elected to Congress or the legislature or whatnot. None of the candidates, even with the exception of some third-party candidates, and even that was only somewhat recently, would even talk about student loan debt in any meaningful way, would ever acknowledge the thought or the idea of canceling student loan debt in any way, would even publicly discuss the notion of restoring bankruptcy protections. And look, we have not crossed the threshold. We have not crossed that finish line. We're not in the end zone. We have no game heroes. We're not ready to give out the game ball right now. But the conversation has become part of the national dialogue, not necessarily by any means to the extent that we would like or that we need, but it is an absolute, it's light years from where it was just a couple of years ago. And I want people to know, and I say this without any fear of contradiction, that student loan justice may have been amongst, if not the single biggest catalyst in pushing, and I mean pushing hard, with very little resource, on our legislators, policymakers, and media to make and sustain this issue at least somewhere near the mainstream talking points, which is what we're on the fringe of now. Where once we probably would have just been considered a bunch of fringe lunatics, lazy, elitist college graduates who want another handout, who went to school and ate pizza and drank beer and studied arts and things that aren't really important, in the job market, as the, so to speak. Yeah. Well, now we have a lot of very significant and influential. When I say influential, I'm talking about, you may talk, let's put our own political biases aside. We are talking about a Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, who are a couple of people who have made a lot of strong public comments that would favor our cause. A lot of people hear them, whether they like them, whether they don't like them, or whether they don't even care. This starts to etch its way into the public consciousness. It's amazing, you could on any given day come across a video where a child saves a squirrel whose head is stuck in a can of beans. And I got to admit, I actually like these videos. It's adorable. And it's a wonderful thing. And they'll have like 1 million or more views or likes or whatever. That's kind of some of the public consciousness that we're dealing with. When you consider that there are as many as 50 million people who have been dramatically impacted directly by corrupt predatory student loans, how hard it is to work this topic into public consciousness. Well, we're kind of there. And, like anything else, that's not the goal line. That's, maybe we're on the 30-yard line or, we've got a good ways to go and the defense is tightening up. I hope somebody here watches football and gets the analogies. We need to be more efficient, more dedicated, and more active, and by all means, more so than anything, more visible and more audible than we've ever been before. Now, when you have all of these other, COVID is the most obvious example, and many other, some that are related, some that are not, issues going on, it's hard. It's hard to vie for the attention necessary, or at least it feels like it is, of a lot of other ongoing issues that may never be resolved or may not be resolved for a long time. Now, here's the biggest difference, in my view, with student loans. One signature away from all current federally backed student loan debt being canceled. One signature. Gone. Now, will that tidy up every single... No, there's other work that will need to be done. We've got to reform or extinguish any lending system or dramatically reform any lending system that is allowed past this point, to never allow this to happen to the borrowers again, what has happened in this system. I hope you guys are listening to some of these live streams. I hope there's enough of you who are listening either as I'm broadcasting or listening to the recordings that stay up on the site, on our Facebook page for a while, because Not because I have a big ego and I need people to pay attention to me. I'd rather be doing something else and not even need to be doing this. But this is the heart of when you're listening to Alan Collins several night evenings a week, and I do the best that I can to fill in, to inform, educate, and inspire people. Uh, People who come here and that tend to be the most active members that we have. They're the people that are helping us push the ball down the road. But here's what I guess the point, and I know sometimes I get kind of fragmented, but this can be done. This can be a massive, major monkey off your back far sooner than you would ever have imagined it could be. Sometimes things like this seem like they're a million miles away until suddenly they're not. We have brought the ship near the dock. We need your help from a lot more people to secure it. We have been particularly active in some specific ways during this presidential and other important election cycle, senators, congresspersons, etc. And we've been very specific and changed course from our, what we were most committed to with bankruptcy protections and other consumer protections restored. Couple more weeks till the election. I'm not here to promise you tonight that if everyone shows up and participates in the actions that we are putting on the Facebook page every day between now and then, that your student debt will be gone by the holidays. I can promise you if you don't do it, I don't know that it will ever be gone. But if you do, I think it can be gone far sooner than you would imagine. We've got we've put the argument in place. We've built the relationships. We have a vehicle by which enough people can work cohesively and in unison to have the impact that we need. We basically just need to let the lawmakers on the executive and legislative side and policymakers know. They know that all of us are out here. There's 50 million people out here. But if they don't think that there is any cohesion between those people or any organization, they don't worry about it. But when they see it begin to happen, we see a response. We know when they think we're beginning to gain traction. And I'm telling you folks right now, we're gaining traction. And the evidence is clear. One quick point before I go. It was posted on the Facebook page that, and speaking of obstacles that come up sometimes relative to your success, a warning from Facebook that we are not entirely certain what if anything has occurred, but threatening to what I guess some people call throttling, or I call it narrowing our bandwidth, so to speak, our ability to reach our members in a timely and meaningful way. That may be happening. We're not 100% sure yet, so we'll be keeping an eye out for that. I don't like it. It's frustrating. It makes me angry. It also tells me that someone out there who's watching and does not want us to succeed, thinks that we're gaining traction. And I know that we are. So I'm just out here again to encourage more people to jump off the bench into the game. Look on the Facebook page. Besides the petition, which we always need to be pushing the petition, we've got to get it over 1 million. There are 2 or 3 other activities that you can do. 1, 2, 3. You can do one or all. Probably do them all in under an hour. And I don't think it's unreasonable to expect people here to be willing to do that on any given day. So that's the message, pure and simple. It doesn't change from night to night. We have a direction. We have a sledgehammer argument. We're not out here begging for anything. We're out here demanding fair and equitable justice on something that never should have happened. It must never happen again. And we need to start coming out from behind the shadows and letting people know who we are, what happened, who did it, and what needs to happen next. I'm Ed McKinley. I'm in Massachusetts. I'm just another member of Student Loan Justice. Just another guy who borrowed some money in good faith to further my education and realized after it was too late that I'd been fucked. And if you feel like I feel, and this is impacting your life in any way like it is mine, then you can understand how important this is to fight back and to do it now. And we need each other, so folks, hop on board, get off the bench, get in the game, and let's do this. Let's do this thing. All right. Spread the word. Yes, from Allen College, I guess that kind of goes what I'm saying. Spread the word about this group. You know, I know I said I was going, but I can never spend enough time saying perhaps the single biggest obstacle between us and complete success are numbers. And there are a lot of people who, unlike those of you who are here, don't even know that we're here, and a shockingly high number who, although they may understand that they are egregiously burdened by their student loans, they may not realize exactly what it is that happened, and it's kind of on us to let them know. They need us, we need them. It's as simple as that. So good night, everybody. I hope folks are able to navigate all the other crazy crap that's going on out there. Hope you folks are able to stay safe and stay well, and stay with us. And hopefully I'll see you later this week. Good night.